So, um, it's kind of hard to tell just from looking at your OPGG because you've got very low games played, but you've got really great KDAs across all your champs here. It looks like you play top lane and jungle and mid some. What's your kind of primary roles?
Mid and top.
Okay, mid and top, nice. Okay, so you've got some handle on kind of the dynamics of top already, right? You'd say. What do you think your biggest issues are in League right now? Like, what do you think your biggest flaws in the game are? Positioning. Okay. Well, cool. Actually, like when you learn Teemo, the first thing you gotta learn is positioning. Teemo is a really like kitey champ, kind of like ADCs, where your job is to basically never get hit. Your job is to do damage without taking damage, and that sounds really basic, but it's pretty. It's pretty true to Teemo, and it's pretty easy to do, especially when you've got a blind. It's easy to do damage without taking too much. Usually you get autos off. So how much have you played Teemo before, by the way? I'm just going to ask you that first.
I've really played Teemo in normal games, at least once a week, maybe.
Okay, so you've got a good handle on his kit then. You know, kind of, his abilities are really simple, but I just want to make sure that you're familiar enough. Okay, so let's do this. I would say, is this your only account? Do you have any Smurf accounts or anything?
One that I made for my friend, and that's it.
Okay, so you don't play on it, or your friend does?
He stopped playing on it a while ago. I just go on it because he bought them skins for it.
Okay, cool. Well, that's good, actually, because I was going to suggest that you kind of create a Smurf. So what I suggest is that you pretty much stop playing normals pretty much forever. And you use your Smurf account as your like normal account, right? So like go into ranked games on that account and like keep it in bronze, silver, and just try new stuff out, right? Like if you want to learn a new champion, if you want to try new builds on Teemo or whoever, use that account and then use your main to only play ranked you know, when you're confident enough in that champ or in that build. Does that make sense? You kind of understand like why I'm suggesting that though?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, because to be honest with you, like normals, like nobody really tries. I mean, it's more relaxed, it's more fun. I like to play normals with my friends, but if I'm trying to like get better at the game and climb, I definitely just stick to ranked, and that's why I created my Smurf account too, is so I can kind of screw around with stupid builds like tank mo or try new champions. Like right now I'm learning ADC and I've just been spamming Lucian like all day long. It's a lot of fun, but would never take. I'm still like a low gold level Lucian. I'm not ready to take it to my main account, but you get a lot of good like people who try good practice. You know what I mean? So anyway, you understand. Okay, so let's start with the before game setup. So do you use pro builds?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay, pro builds is good, and champion.gg. I don't know if you use these two.
Never heard of one of them.
Okay, so Champion GG is a really great website. So it basically aggregates all the Platinum Plus ranked games, and then it gives you statistics on each of those champions. So let's head to Teemo. And what it gives you is pretty cool. So it gives you kind of win rate by game length, win rate by number of games played. These are kind of the two that I look at the most. So if you look at the game length, Teemo actually scales pretty well into the late game, contrary to popular belief. He's a late game monster and an early game monster. I think like the mid game, if you take an early lead, you can see like there's a small dip in the 30 to 35 minute, but like usually Teemo gets ahead early and then just stays ahead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then same by games played. The more you play him, the better you'll get. Mostly like most champs, And then it tells you kind of from all those games that have been recorded. There's over 2 million games recorded. What's the most frequent skill order? What's the most frequent core build? And then starting summoners and all that stuff. So this is just really good information. And plus, and this is kind of what I like to use when I'm first using a new champ is the mastery tree and the runes. You can kind of quickly pull up a champ and then just build them real quick and then get out into the rift, So it's pretty easy. So I would suggest this website and then Pro Builds as well, just to kind of look at what are the pros doing, what are some of like maybe the Koreans doing with Teemo. Problem is like Teemo is such a rare champ in the higher elos that you're not going to get a ton of like the pros unless they're just kind of trolling around and playing. So I don't use this website for Teemo as often as I use Champion GG. So let's go to, oh boy, some really slow internet. Okay, here we go. op.gg, okay. I'll show you what I have set up. Alright, so let's go to my runes and masteries. So basically, until you get to like high platinum, like plat 2 and above, I wouldn't worry at all about like min-maxing your runes or masteries. I would just say set up a single page for whatever champ you play, and for this case we're playing Teemo, and then just kind of forget about it because it's really not going to make a huge difference, right? Just set something up that's really standard and good and understand why you did it, and then just play that play style from there on out. So what I take is Hybrid Pen for the marks. I take Scaling Health because he's squishy as hell. And I like health more than armor because sometimes you're against magic AP players. And then I take, instead of doing 3 quints of ability power, I just take 1 quint and I do 2 of attack speed. And I take the rest of my ability power in the glyphs. So the reason I do that is I like having the attack speed early game. It's like the flat attack speed right when you start. Really allows you to last hit better and gets you a little bit more DPS to start the game. And the more kind of power that you can get at the beginning of the game, the better for Teemo, because he's such a fucking bully at the beginning of the game. So does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me know if I'm going too fast or anything too, or if you have any questions, just stop me at any time.
Yeah.
So Thunderlords, I think, is still the best on Teemo. Mostly because it's just in the laning phase, it levels kind of 1 through 5. It's just like kind of disgusting how much damage you can do with this. I mean, Q auto will proc the Thunderlord, and that literally chunks every champion to 60% of their health, and it's just really gross. So it's kind of I've played around with Warlords and Deathfire, and I just think that the damage over time is good, but this bursty damage is just great for zoning. So I like to go cookies because Teemo's again super squishy, so it's nice to have that extra health. And then the rest of this is pretty standard, but obviously you can do min-maxing. I mean, if you like the movement speed, if you're roaming around a lot more than the bonus damage to monsters, that's fine too if you're really confident in your CS. So like I said, like this is what I use. You can kind of duplicate that if you want, but I've been having a lot of success. I think this is probably the best build on Teemo. That's it for runes and masteries. When you play Teemo, do you quick cast everything?
Yeah.
All right, good, perfect, yeah. His kit's so simple. I mean, you don't even hit E ever, so it's just really just W and Q, and then obviously R. I think quick cast on R is pretty standard. I don't know if, I think it'd be just kind of a waste of a few fractions of a second if you need to, not. So that's good you're doing the quick cast. So I won't go into game and kind of show you. Actually, you know what? Screw it, I will. I'm going to show you real quick what I have set up. I know you're already gold 5, but here's some really cool. The setup that I have, I kind of set up when I got to platinum, just because I was just kind of screwing around and thinking about the most efficient way to set up my keyboard and mouse, which I think it's some things that most people don't think too much about. I think the game's just shitting its pants. Hold on 1 second, please.
Actually, you just have to press cancel and then start game. That's all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Genius. You do this a lot, don't you? I like it. All right, so how comfortable do you feel with last hitting on Teemo?
Pretty good, actually.
Good. Yeah, he's pretty easy to. I mean, you've got that like fail safe in his in his poison that if you kind of just miss the last hit, sometimes the poison tick gets that anyway, you know. So it's kind of nice. It's not quite like Annie where you can just queue every time and guarantee it, but it's still pretty simple. And as you get like, I'd say once you get to like level 5 or 6, and you've got some items, last hitting is just a complete breeze. Okay, so I'll just show you this really quickly because I know you already know most of this. So obviously you quick cast all of your abilities, right? So you don't have to click on them.
Mm-hmm.
You use like the Alt key or something?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, sweet. So so I use the Alt key too. Really quickly, what I like to set up on my my keyboard and mouse is so that your fingers never leave the QWER keys, or at least like when they do, they're like really close by. So like right now you've got the shop that's like default in P and then back in B, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if do you use those or have you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so what kind of mouse do you use?
Currently actually, what kind do I use? Oh, a Xenos.
Okay, do you have side mouse buttons?
2 of them. I use both of them.
All right, perfect. What do you use them for right now?
Currently, the top one is for Zanya's, and the other one is for Blazer and King whenever I'm playing Assassins.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. So for Teemo, since you're not going to have those actives, maybe Zonya's, I would say what's easy for me, I'll just tell you what my setup is, and you can either use it or not, but this is just to give you some idea of some other cool things you could do. I use my back mouse button on the side as backing, and then I use my front one as Smart Cast for E, but you can obviously use that for probably your Zonias if you want to keep that bound to the way it is. The reason I Smart Cast E is because I play a lot of Morgana too, and if I have that on my left mouse, I can literally just hit E as I'm walking. You know what I mean? If I see a hook come over a wall or something and black shield it instantly, and people call me a scripter, it's fantastic. So think about that too. Like if one of your keys can quickly use an ability that's like a self cast, it's easy to just go into I think it's under summer spells. Yeah, and just quick cast. Not quick cast, sorry, self cast. You can see MB5, mouse button 5 for my third spell, but depending on the champ, sometimes I'll manually just change it, but I think that's a pretty cool way to think about doing your mouse. Secondly, your keyboard. So I keep my items in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slot just because it's easier for my fingers. And then when you start the game, move your champs around? So you got top, jungle.
I usually move them accordingly, yeah.
All right, perfect. And so the reason I do that not only is so you can see CS easier and items easier and who's winning and whatever, it's like, do you use the F keys, F1, 2, and 3?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Yeah, if you get in that habit, it's really, really helpful for kind of looking around the map very quickly and then getting back to you. So what I like to do is if you look at your keyboard, I change all of my communication pings to all the keys closest to my champion. So, not to my champion, to my QWER keys. So the defend tower or target tower, I'm heading over here. That's my T key, right? So it's just really easy to slide your finger over, and I use that a lot, so I want to make that the most readily available. And then secondly, ping back, that's my G key. So that's another one that's really easy to get to without having to look down. My D and my F are still the summoners, pretty simple. And then my V key I'm on my way. It's another one that's pretty easy to do without having to look down. And then I change my shop key from P to C. So if you look down and just slide your index finger from R all straight down to C, it brings up the shop without having to, take your hand off of, QWER. Does that make sense? So I think that's like, the easiest 3 keys, T, G, and V, and then C. That's 4 keys, I can't count. And so I think those are the most readily, like the most used of the communication and shop tools. So I think those should be closest. Now, enemy missing, I put that on H And if you look down, it's a little bit further away, and you kind of have to move your fingers off. But usually when the enemy laner is not in lane, you're not under any pressure, so you can kind of slide your fingers off and do that just fine. So those are kind of all of my communication pings, and obviously I put that on end so I can taunt the shit out of people. But yeah, I mean, those are just suggestions. Obviously, you don't, have to do any of that. I just wanted to give you what my setup was, just so you can see. All right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. All right. So that's kind of the before game setup. Pretty simple stuff, but I just wanted to kind of give it to you just in case you got something out of it. Let's just talk top lane in general, just to give you a little bit of how I think about my Teemo game before I actually get into the match. When you're playing anybody in League of Legends, like, you got to think about why Riot made the champ the way they did, and then kind of just reverse engineer how you're gonna play him. So, like, think about like Caitlyn, for example, right? Can you build an AP Caitlyn?
No.
I mean, technically you can, but like you never.
You're going to shit on.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's for you to troll around and be like stupid, but like the reason you don't build that is because her kit scales with AD, and most of her abilities lend to that. So, and same with Teemo. Like, Teemo is actually kind of a nice champ because he's kind of a blank slate where you could build him AD, you could build him AP, you could build him hybrid. There's so many different ways you can build Teemo. So some people always think that AP Teemo is the best. And in my opinion, right now, I don't think AP Teemo is the absolute best. There's two ways that I'm going to explain that you should build Teemo. One is AP Teemo, just so you can make your shrooms do incredible damage, and same with your Q. And then the other is going to be more of a hybrid Teemo that's built for being a complete split pushing maniac and also being like a really good like Kaidi team fighter. But that build is going to force you to kind of play a specific style as well. So I'll explain both in depth in just a minute. But just general kind of top lane kind of dynamics I kind of want to get out of the way first is, obviously, you want to hit level 2 first, right? When you get to lane, it's like a very important thing, is to hit your level 2 spike before your enemy does, because you get access to your Q, right? You're always going to want to you always want to max your E first, then your Q, and then your W, okay? I'm sorry, max your E, then your W, then your Q, okay? With Teemo's kind of rework, his W scales really well with points, so that's why I max it before my Q. The more points you have in W, the more passive speed you get, and it's all about being mobile, and it's all about being able to dodge stuff. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So, and E obviously just gives you more tick damage in every point you get, so you want to take every point E as you can, but level 1 you take E, level 2 you take Q, obvious reasons, so you have access to your blind. And as soon as you can hit that Q, if you can be level 2 before the enemy champ is level 2, you've got an immediate advantage, right? So there's... Here, I'll get back in the game real quick. So while I do this, there's an immediate advantage to hitting level 2 because you get your blind, and they have the one ability, which means you can zone them off of the wave completely after you hit level 2, which is why it's so important on Teemo. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock it in. I'm going to show you how to take this Gromp here, or not Gromp, the blue buff minion, without getting hit one time. So when you're starting on the blue side, you always want to take this minion for yourself if you're not leashing. And what that allows you to do is hit level 2 after 5 minions instead of 7. Okay? It's going to surprise your enemy, and it's going to allow you to burst them really quickly without them having any idea it's coming. Because most people just know, okay, 7 minions, then they hit level 2. They'll probably be trying to attack minions too. And after 5, you're just going to quickly burst them. They're going to have no idea what's going on. So start E. Standard starts, Doran's, 2 pots. Very situationally. I'm going to tell you right now, I think that starting Doran's in almost all situations for you will be the best route. But against certain champions, like really just Pantheon in my opinion, who's going to give you a lot of trouble, you should start Cloth 4, okay? Just a small thing. I know it's kind of, I don't want to get like way too specific just yet, but yeah. So all right, you see these 2 steps here?
Mm-hmm.
All right, you stand right here on this step, and you wait. You go into stealth. What this is going to allow you to do, you get the increased attack speed, so now you're at 0.92. And this allows you to hit this minion 3 times before having to move and kite back. So that'll take out about 70% of its health. And then you got to kite back and attack move click. Do you ever use attack move click?
As ADCs, yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so use the attack move click button, because what's going to happen is the blue buff, if you just like move click, it's going to be tough to actually click on the champ. So you want to use the attack move instead. And you're going to want to click not directly on the small minion, but you're going to click just
Right
off to
on.
the side, right? And it's going to attack it, right? So you'll see what I do in just a second here. So first 3 autos are free, okay? So I'm just going to click it, 1, 2, 3, then move back, then I click off to the side, and I hit it, right? I move back, then one more time. So I get it for free, and I take almost no damage, right? So when you get back to lane, they're not going to know that you've taken that, and then it becomes really easy to get these. There's 3, 4, and then there's 5, and then we get right there and we go on them, right? So that's just something that's a little tool you can use. I'll go over here. If you start red side, make sure you take the small golem. Okay, it's hard to do this. It's almost impossible to do without taking any damage. But like this little grassy patch, get out of here. What are you guys doing? This little grassy patch, you want to stand kind of like right in front of it. And then wait until you go into stealth. It comes up, then you go 1, 2, then you kite back as best you can. Probably going to take 1 chomp, but start moving up into the left so that the big guy doesn't hit you. Okay, you can take damage from the small one because you get all of that back really quickly. Okay, and then it's the same thing. You get back to lane, it only takes 5 minions to get to level 2. Oops. Okay. And that's something that's really unique to Teemo. I don't think there's any other champ in the game that can do that, because of the damage that you can do with your poison, and the fact that you're ranged. And I think you can probably with like a Quinn maybe or some other champs, but that are ranged. But I don't know if you necessarily have the damage to do it without getting hit. So those are just 2 little tricks of the Teemo trade that not even a lot of Teemo mains really do at all or enough. So that's the first thing. Get to level 2, and then zone the champ out, right? So once you hit level 2, you should be poking them enough to where they have to CS from the brush, which means it's harder for them to get any CS. They're leeching XP, fine. But once they get into these brushes, that's your cue to shove the wave, right? Because if the wave gets past those brushes, he can't sit in there anymore, right? But what does that open up? That opens up gank route, right? So as soon as you hit 3 minutes into the game, make sure you put a ward right here in the brush, and you'll be pretty much safe under tower. And what you're going to want to do is, if he's not smart enough to use this brush and abuse the fact that you can't attack him that way, and he's just kind of dancing around lane, just last hit while poking him, as best you can and just slow push the wave until you get to the edge of this brush, and then shove it into tower so it resets back. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you do that now. That kind of this is what I'm explaining now applies to all champions, by the way, not just Teemo. But when you reset a wave into the tower, it doesn't bounce back to the center. It bounces back to here. Okay, so keep that in mind, and that's important to know because what's going to happen is when it resets to here, and your minion waves here, his minion waves here, you're going to think this is really like, everyone says this is like the worst place to be, right? Because he's right under tower, it's easily gankable, but it's only going to be bad for one wave because it's going to take longer for your wave to get there than his wave to get there to that point, right? So what that's going to set up is a slow push back to you. Okay? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what you're going to want to do when it's frozen here is just last hit, let him take a few CS, wait till his next wave comes in, and let the wave shove back to you, and then freeze it right here. And then you've won the lane. That's it, right? Because once you're under tower free CSing, and you're the one who's doling out the free damage, he has nowhere to go and nothing to do. He can't call for a gank, he can't do anything. So at mid gold and below, probably actually like low platinum and below, there's a lot of players who just don't understand these wave dynamics, and they'll just kind of blindly attack. And I'll show you some video later, and they'll just blindly attack minions because they're like, oh my god, I have access to last hitting minions, I'm just going to do it. And they just don't want to set the wave up correctly. So your job is to have the wave in the most optimal position possible. So for you, that would be right here, just outside of tower range, and the magic number is 4 caster minions, okay? So if you can get into a situation where there are 4 caster minions plus your wave plus their wave that's full, this is what we have created here as a perma. Wow, that is the worst circle ever. We've created a perma freeze, okay? Every new wave that comes from you and him, as long as you keep 4 caster minions alive, will never shove one way or the other. The enemy laner has to either break the freeze by trying to attack all of your minions, and while he does that, you're gonna attack the shit out of him, or he's got to go off and like take his golems, or he's got to go try and gank mid, which is kind of a low probability, right? So either way, he's kind of screwed. You know what I mean? So it's all about just creating as much pressure as you can while you're in the laning phase, okay? And starving your opponent of CS and XP as best you can. So if possible, if you've got this set up anywhere, like even if it's not here, say you're here, say you're, well, probably not there, but say you're in the middle of the lane, if you've got dominance over your opponent, say a Gangplank or a Darius or whoever else you hard counter, stand right here, right in between his caster minions and the wave, and he'll have to be back by his tower. He can't even come near his wave. Okay, and I'm sure you probably do that now at some points when you're way ahead, but it's just a basic zoning tool, right? He definitely can't get last hits, but he probably won't be able to get much XP either. Okay, does that make sense? All of that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you use most of that when you play? Do you think about any of that?
Wait, what?
Do you think about like the wave dynamics at all while you play? If like, where's the wave? Where's it shoving? Where do I want it to be? Do you think about all that stuff or no?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay. Well, get into the habit. Get into the habit every time you play from now onwards, no matter who you play, no matter what lane you're in, mid or top. Mid's a shorter lane, so it's a little bit different, but the same dynamics exist, and the same kind of principles apply. So in the mid lane, in the top lane, if you're trying to set up a gank, I mean, this is a perfect gankable opportunity. If he hangs around for more than 10 seconds, you can kind of label him a dunce and just ping it to your jungler who can run from blue to top, and even if he's got flash, he's not going to be able to get away. So, and same with mid lane. If you want to set up a dive, or not a dive, if you want to set up a gank, do the level 2 spike, shove to tower, bounce back, so your wave is sitting here, right? And what you can do when the wave is frozen here is then call for your jungler. Say, hey, jungler, when you're done with blue, when you're done with red, come mid, because it should be about 1 minute or 70 seconds into the future, and by that time, their wave will come, your wave will come, and it'll shove back to about here, right? And that's where your wave will be, a perfect timing for your jungler to come. This is a complete jumbled mess. I'm sorry, it's so messy. Okay, so does that make sense? Calling for like the timing of your ping to the jungler is actually really important, because you want to do it knowing that in the future your wave will be here instead of here. Okay, does that make sense? Just get in the habit of thinking about that, because it'll really make you it'll make or break your lane a lot of times, and it's very minimal effort. Okay, does that make sense? Any questions about that?
No.
Okay, is this too basic? I feel like I don't know. Is this stuff that you already know, or is like too?
No, it's a little bit new for me.
Oh, it is. Okay, all right, good. Well, that's what I'm kind of here to do, is help you learn new stuff. Hopefully, get something out of this. I know it's free, but all right. So, first thing you want to do when you're in the loading screen of the game is think about, okay, who am I up against? Okay. What's my game plan for this game, right? Like, do we have a better team comp for team fighting? Is this going to be is this a pick team comp? Do I have to build, am I against AD, am I against AP? And then you want to kind of build accordingly, right? Like, am I ahead or am I behind? I'm going to give you a couple of builds that you don't have to think about too hard how to build. It's going to be pretty standard every single game, so you don't have to do any heavy lifting there. But it's situational to where, and this is true for any champion, if you're behind, obviously do not buy offensive items, right? Like, don't go for your needlessly large rod if you're 0-2 in lane and your enemy laner is 2-0, because it's not going to help you. They're going to be building offensive items, and you're going to be behind trying to build offensive items. So what's going to happen is he might have like 1.5, 1.5 offensive items, and you might have like 0.75. You might have like your rod and your amplifying tome, but that's it towards your Zonias. So like from this point forward, when you get to 1.5, he's going to be at 2, right? What is this? Holy shit, math is hard. 2.25, right? So like it's going to scale like that. So you're always going to be behind. So to mitigate this disparity that you've created because you're behind, you got to start building defensive items. That's just kind of the basic, in any lane with any champs, except for maybe like AD carry and support. If you're behind, you want to build defensive just so you can survive and try and CS your way back to even. And when you're at the lower elos, like most of these guys are so bad at trading and getting CS at the same time that just catching up by CSing properly is going to be your way back into a lost lane. Just not dying, basically. The rule of thumb for me is if I've died twice in lane, it's like lockdown mode, full lockdown mode. You should never ever die more than 3 times in lane with really anybody, right? If you die more than twice, you're basically feeding and you're snowballing them to like oblivion. Teemo is really tough to play when he's super behind, but 0-2 is perfectly manageable. You just basically never trade, you never fight, and you just try and get as much CS as possible. If they've got the wave frozen here, then that's your cue to try and do what I was saying before. Take the golem, take scuttle crab, and just wait until he pushes to your tower and then come back. And even if there's nothing to do in the jungle, then it's no big deal. Just kind of hover around this area and just wait. You know what I mean? Like there's no like kind of sexy way to do it. Just kind of wait until you get back here, and then you're safe again. But the worst thing you can do is just keep feeding kills, because not only does it feed and snowball your opponent, it will not allow you to CS at all, so you'll get even further behind. Okay, so that's just kind of the very, very basics of, well, I guess it's not really basic, it's pretty advanced stuff, but it's stuff that I want you to kind of start thinking about and start understanding now, because if you can get used to thinking about this is the kind of stuff that'll take you easily through Platinum, and it's stuff that people in Diamond and above are usually thinking about. Okay? And it's like those fundamentals that it's just good to get your foundation right to begin with. So let's get into the itemization. I'm going to give you 2 builds. Build 1, AP Teemo. And okay, so let me just get the 2 here. Give me 1 second. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the starting items, Doran's, and 2 pots, and yellow ward. It's your very kind of simple starting items. And against, like, I'll just give it for you anyway, against Pantheon, we'll do cloth, and we'll say also maybe Wukong. Do cloth plus 4 pots. Otherwise, definitely, and then also I want to mention on first back, get your Doran's ring. Doran's ring's really important on Teemo because you run out of mana kind of fast if you're poking with Q. Without a Doran's ring. Doran's ring gives you really good sustain in terms of poking with your Q. And I'm sure you've probably run into that. I don't know if you ever play without. Is that what you usually build now on Teemo when you play him? Doran's and 2 pots?
Mm-hmm.
All right, good. Well, perfect. So that's your starting item. First item you're going to go for is Liandry's. This is your Liandry's. That's your first kind of core item. I'm going to call this core. Number 2 is Sork shoes. Alternately, Swifty boots are good, but you get less AP out of that. So I would say this is like maybe like 5% of the time. If you're against someone that you really need to dodge stuff against, like maybe a Gangplank, where he's got those barrels you need to dodge, Swifty boots just allows you to be super quick. But otherwise, Sork shoes with the magic pen's awesome. So next is Nashor's. My name is Core. And then Void Staff is also Core. So as soon as you've built Liandry's, Nashor's, Void Staff, you're pretty much going to be a beast. Same with Sork shoes. Like the pen you get out of Void Staff, Sork shoes, plus Liandry's makes your mushrooms do an insane amount of damage. I think it takes like 2 mushrooms will kill an 80 carry once you've got those items. Which is just disgusting. I mean, that's like not even fair, but so you want to get that as quickly as possible. Next will be your Zonias, and then your Death Cap. I like Death Cap last to amplify the AP that you've already built, but this is just your standard AP Teemo build. It's kind of probably a standard build for a lot of AP players. AP champions, I should say. And it's a pretty simple kind of just, brain dead build. So your strengths are going to be your Q and your R, and then your E-ticks. So basically all of the magic damage that your kit does is going to be the strengths, but your Q is going to become a nuke, and then your R is going to become just super powerful. So that's the strength there, but the weakness is you're super squishy, and Pink's sweepers nullify. So if the other team's smart, and usually they're not, they're going to buy a lot of sweepers and a lot of Pinks, and if they kill all your mushrooms, then the only damage you get to do is if you get close to them. And Teemo's range is only 550 on his auto and 600 with his Q, which isn't very long. It's actually shorter than most AD carries auto range, so it's just going to be tough because you got to get close, but you're already squishy, so it's just really dangerous. So that's kind of the Achilles heel of this build. How to counteract it is to just buy Pinks and to buy sweepers. Build number 2. Do you have any questions on that before I move on?
No.
Cool. It's all pretty straightforward stuff. Build 2 is one that I just recently got into that I absolutely love. This is the split push monster. I'm going to call it that because I think it's cool, even though it's probably not that cool. Alright, so split push monster. Starting items, same as AP. Your first will be Ginsu. Okay, the Rage Blade. Number 2, I'm going to call this Core. Number 2 is going to be Wit's End. This is going to be Core as well. Number 3 is going to be Runans. I don't know if I spelled that right, but that's Core.
Yeah, wait. One too many U's.
Okay, you can never have too many U's, my friend. All right, so there's your 3 that basically once you get Ginsu's, especially in laning phase, if you're up against a Mundo, if you're up against a Scion, if you're up against a Volibear, it just melts them completely. And what's going to happen is when you go back first, your first back should either be the blasting wand or the
pickaxe.
The pickaxe. That's what it's called. Yeah, the pickaxe. So one's AD and one's AP, right? Against most opponents, and I would say this like 99% of the time, they're gonna think you're gonna be building AP Teemo, so they're gonna start Null Magic Mantle, Negatron Cloak, Spectre's Cowl. So you always build pickaxe first, in my opinion. Like it's dependent completely on what they buy first. Like if they buy armor first, you obviously buy the blasting wand, and if they buy magic resist, you buy the pickaxe first. Does that make sense? And it's so tricky because so many people get thrown off. They're like, okay, he came back with a pickaxe. That means he's going AD Teemo, but he bought a Doran's ring. So it's like, okay, they if they're smart, they'll think, okay, he's building that into something that's probably a hybrid, or they'll just start building armor along with their magic resist, which is even more inefficient for them. So either way, just start going to your Ginsu one way or the other, depending on how they build. But make sure you get that first, and once you get that, it just becomes a free lane. Second is Wit's End. Wit's End's fantastic. It gives you a little bit of magic resist, and the full item is just really great. It gives you the attack speed, and it steals some of their magic resist as well, which is fantastic. And then Runans is, once you get this third core item, it becomes you just choose a lane and then you just start stuffing it down their throat. Like they can't do anything to stop you unless they send 2 people, and this is where your the different style of Teemo comes into play, because you're not playing to ever kind of group with your team up until like 25 minutes or 30 minutes mid game. Your job is to go find a lane that's empty, that no one's at, and let your team kind of skirmish it out, because kind of in your low gold, high silver games, it becomes an ARAM in the mid game anyway, right? Like everyone just groups mid and starts fighting each other. It's totally fine. Just like my suggestion would be either to type into chat or just keep spamming ping back a lot of the times while you're split pushing, just to make sure your team realizes that you're not there and that they can't fight a 4v5. Because what's going to happen is they'll dance around for a while and they'll see that with your build you're running through their lanes so fast that they're going to have to send someone. And the problem with having a Teemo who's built this way is that they can't send just one person, right? If they send a top laner, you're already ahead of them. You're just going to kill them. They can't send the AD carry. They may be able to send the mid lane if the mid lane's fed, but whoever they send, it's very likely that they're going to die or they're going to need help. So what's going to happen is they're going to send 2 or more people, which then creates a mismatch for the rest of your team. So your job is to be well warded, well shroomed, and make sure that you've got escape routes. So you've always got an eye on the mini map. So as soon as you see 1 or 2 champions peel off of the group wherever they're fighting, you know that they're coming for you. You can be prepared to run, to kite, whatever, and it creates an advantage for your team. It turns into a 4-on-3 or a 4-on-2, and they can either engage or you can kind of break off and then head to a different lane. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that's like that's your overall game plan for Teemo with this build. This is just be a split push monster, be a complete nuisance, and split their team at all times, because they can't just send one, they have to send more than one. So once they do that, start pinging other objectives. You're in the top lane and you're splitting and you see that the Darius and the Soraka are coming for you. Ping the mid tower, ping the bot tower, tell your team to just go there. Well, even if you die, even if you get caught, your team is still going to have the mismatch and you get a tower off your death. So just think objective focus, okay? So I'll put this at the bottom, but this is objective focus. This is gonna be the way you win games. It's not gonna be the kind of sexy pentakills that you're gonna get potentially with this AP Teemo build because of the damage you do. This is more of a sustained damage more than like a bursty damage. Like with this, you can blow up. Like within auto Q ignite will kill any AD carry, any mid laner, any support, squishy support. Anyone who's built magic resist, probably the top laner, the tanky support, maybe the jungler. It's still going to do a big chunk to them, but your job is in the AP Teemo build is to just chunk out damage and try and stay safe. Whereas in this one, in team fights, you're going to be on the outskirts at all times, trying to do damage. So here, before I kind of go into more how to fight, let me just finish the build out. So from 4, 5, and 6, I would say these are all situational. What I like if I'm really far ahead is Void Staff, because then it really starts to do more damage. And then depending on what you need, check and see. So I'm going to say situational and situational. I spelled one of those wrong. Oh my god. Situational and oh, there it is. Okay. I swear I was born in this country. All right. So, what I like to do is hit tab and see who's fed on their team. Is it the AD carry? Is he the one who's going to do a ton of damage to you? Then you're going to want to get some armor of some kind, right? What kind of armor is helpful on Teemo? If you're thinking armor, what item would you buy?
Randuins.
Okay, but also you want to buy something that will. It's not just armor. It's something that will help towards your kit. Something that you already buy. Zhonya's, right? So Zhonya's is good because it helps against burst damage, but it's also got an armor element in Seekers, right? And they just buffed it, I think, and added another cloth armor to it. So it adds even more armor. So while you're not going quite Randuin's, I'll add it. If they've got like 2 AD champs, they've got a Zed, and they've got like a Fed AD carry, in that case, Randuin's could be good. But for the most part, if it's just kind of a medium AD threat, I would say Zhonya's is good because you get the AP and you get some armor. If you are up against a Ryze in the mid lane who's pretty fed, Abyssal Scepter is really, really strong right now. It's probably one of my favorite items to get as a 5th or 6th. It gives you, with your Wit's End, you can literally delete Ryzes and they can't kill you. Especially when you've got the Ginsu active. It's pretty sick. I also like Guardian Angel, if they've got a good mix of damage. On top of a Zhonya's, you're basically unkillable. I think that combo is really strong. But again, like, this is just obviously situational stuff. It's when you're in the game, just think about what you need, but just make sure you get these core items first, and it'll be a pretty fun game for you, I think. Okay, so big differences here, obviously, is you're a lot squishy. You're squishy in both of them, but you've got at least some nuke damage and nuke potential with the build 1, but with build 2, you're just you're going to stay on the outskirts. So let's build out a quick. All right, so this is a team fight. All right. Actually, let's do this. Let's go football reference here. These are supposed to be O's, but
close enough.
Oh my lord, look at this. I've got like Tourette's. Okay, so all right, so what's going to happen here is, you're going to be, this is the AD carry right here. Support jungle, like maybe mid laners probably over here somewhere instead. But this is just for illustrative purposes. You're going to be always on the outskirts, okay? This is like the blob of a team fight. Like, think of like this as like your team fight blob. If the blob moves, if their blob moves towards you or anywhere towards your team, it's just pretty basic. You move the same equidistance away, right? If you're the ones who are being aggressive and the blob moves backwards, you're going to be doing the same thing and moving forward, right? So, I mean, this is very basic stuff, but it's very, very important for positioning purposes that in Teemo's like personal space, nobody enters this zone, okay? Teemo's a very emo kid, all right? You cannot enter his personal space, okay? This will lead to your death very, very quickly. So don't even worry about what's happening with your team. If they're jumping onto your AD carry, that's perfectly fine, because then they're letting you do free damage. And with your Ginsus, Wits, and Runons, especially, it's going to be a mistake. So if they're smart, they need to attack you first. And if not, it's just, they can't attack more than one person at once, right? I mean, that's a very simple concept. If they're attacking someone, right, they are physically, the champion's, what do you call it? The animation can only attack one person at a time. So as that animation goes off on someone else, your animation is going off on them, right? And then same, if they second attack, it goes to you, that person can attack them. So it's pretty simple stuff where, like, you should never be afraid in team fights. And it's kind of hard. It's something you just kind of get used to over time. But try and pay attention to who's being focused, who's being attacked. If it's you, don't be afraid to just kind of run, and let them kind of chase and follow, because Teemo's got an insane global taunt where like everyone just wants to kill the Teemo all the time. So it just allows your team to just jump on them and do all kinds of damage. So your best bet is to always just stay on the outskirts of this blob. Never let them get anywhere near you. Okay, does that make sense? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull up my YouTube. I don't know if you have to go anywhere, or do you have any, like, we've kind of gone over an hour now, but do you have like something you need to do?
I got no life.
Okay. All right, man. Me neither. Let's do this. All right. So my channel is called Can't Beat This Meat. If you ever want to look at my old games, and I've also got some other lessons posted. A couple of this one's really good with Leroy Jenkins, top lane. I do like a really in-depth top lane analysis for the guy. And he plays melee top laners, but the ideas still exist. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a couple of Teemo games. And this was from Season 5, so it's a little bit dated. There's no Thunder Lords or anything like that, but it's a little bit dated, but it's going to give you still a pretty good idea. So first things first. This is like your standard Teemo cheese. I'm playing on red side, as you can see. I didn't get into doing the golems yet at this point, but I would suggest doing that first. But alternately, if you don't do the golems, this is your other option, and that's to just sit right, like behind the midpoint of where the minions are going to crash. And then just go into stealth and wait, because you always get at least one free auto off on the enemy laner. And the reason I'm not like over here or like over here is because once I hit the enemy champion, you're going to get aggroed by all of their minions. So you want to stay kind of where only the melees have access to you, so you can minimize the damage. So the Darius doesn't know I'm here, so he goes into this brush. This is obviously not like standard. So you'll see what happens once the actual minions get to lane. Okay, so he's still in this brush. He's waiting for me, I'm waiting for him. So I'm just going to take this minion and then auto him. I got to take that damage because he kind of went there. But Darius is actually, in my opinion, one of the easiest opponents to play against with Teemo. You counter him really, really hard, and I'll show you why. So as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm focusing on attacking him and CSing at the same time. Okay, right now he's got a little bit of an advantage on me because of the creep aggro I took and because he got his Q off on me, or his spinny axe. I don't know if it's his Q, but what he's doing is using the brush so that I can't free attack him, which is fine. But if you notice my clicks. His spinny axe range is like right here. I'm making sure I'm clicking over here. You can see he comes towards me. I walk away because I know he's going to try and get a spinny axe off. Right. As soon as his axe spins, I'm already clicking back so I can attack as often as possible and get as many autos as I can off on him before he gets away from me. Okay. So you can see I took no damage on that from him, and he took, I think it was 3 autos. And so I'm still taking a little creep damage, so we're still about even. But now the principles apply, right? Now I've got my Q, and as soon as you hit level 2, you got to go in, right? So auto, and you can see my Q goes off, and he's at 40% health. Okay. So I got my potion ticking, and at this point in the lane, I've done almost nothing. This is like 1.5 waves, not even, into the game, and I've already pretty much won the lane, right? Like, he has no business being anywhere near me, because at this point, if I flash, ignite, auto, Q, auto, he can't retaliate, and he will die off of this. So he can't be anywhere near me or my minions. And if he comes close like that, I'm just going to get a free auto off. You see that? I just hit him, and he couldn't do anything about it. And he's just standing in this brush. He can't do anything. So like I said before, shove the wave, because he can't stand in this brush anymore. He's going to have to come out. So I'm already positioning myself as to cut him off as best I can. So when he comes out of the brush, I'm just going to try and get as much free damage as I can off of him. I eat that, and that was a mistake on my part. But you can see he's already close to death. So at this point, what's your game plan? What do you do? Looking at everything we talked about, what do you do if you're Teemo in this position?
Ward the bush.
Okay, what do you do after that? Think wave management.
Oh, clear the wave and then like push back.
Yep. So you'll see I've got kill potential on him now. Okay, he's at the point, and remember this. Okay, this is very important as Teemo, and really as any champion. One of the fundamentals of any champion is to know when you have a kill. Okay, it's called like your kill potential. So here he's got just about 300 health. A flash ignite, or just an ignite really. An ignite auto Q auto combo will do over 300 damage. So you have the kill secured now. I could do it right now, but I kind of want to save my flash. I'm kind of being greedy. I get one more auto off on him, and I'm shoving the wave as fast as I can so that he can't get all of these minions. He's going to lose some to the tower. And I make my first mistake, right? No ward, right? So I'm kind of bloodlusted, and I'm thinking, all right, as soon as my Q comes back, I'm going to kill him, but obviously I get ganked. So at this point, I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to die most likely. Just secure the kill. I get the ignite off. I flash just to secure the kill, just in case. It's fine because we trade. I got the first blood, and he got the kill. So I still got a little bit extra gold than he did, okay? But you can see the strength of Teemo. He's a total bully, and I'm starting to build. I started cloth 5 on this one because I wanted some extra damage. So I went Doran's Ring, Amp Tome to get a little extra AP. And you can see the wave reset, Lisa and shove them back. And look how many minions we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 against our 5. So by the time we get back to lane, especially with him, he's going to come and shove this wave back to tower because he's going to want the reset and he wants to get these minions while he can. So my job now is to shave these off, let the tower hit these two, and then now my job is to permafreeze. I've got my 5 caster minions and my wave, and he's got a wave that's just about here. So his wave is about to come into mine as well. You can see here it comes. And my job now is to just last hit. Okay, I'm not shoving anything. I'm waiting. I'm last hitting. I'm not doing anything, and I'm trying to let this kind of equilibrium happen. The problem is it's a little too far, so my tower took out a couple. And he's attacking minions, right? He's using his Q. So I have to keep shaving as many as he's taking out, because if he takes out too many, it's going to shove to my tower. So as many as he takes out, as you have to take out as well. My point is to just keep it frozen right here, okay? And it's something that you're going to just have to get used to and think about, but my strategy remains the same, all right? Don't let him anywhere near your range of the spinny axe, and poke him at every chance you get. So auto Q. Every time your poke combo as Teemo is auto Q auto. A lot of times you're not going to be able to get auto Q auto, so make sure when you poke whoever you're poking, auto first and then Q. Never Q first, okay? Because your Q range is a little bit longer than your auto range, so sometimes you'll be able to get a Q but not an auto. But if you're in auto range, you're guaranteed the Q, okay? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, perfect. All right, so now he's kind of screwed because I'm effectively freezing the lane here. His next wave's coming in, mine's still sitting here, and every time he goes for a CS, I'm punishing him for it. So I make a mistake and get pulled, but that's fine. As soon as he pulls me, I I blind him, and he doesn't do any damage to me, and I immediately kite back, and you can see like I chunked him here before this trade started. I autoed him, queued him, autoed him twice, and it's gotten him to here. Now I know I've got the kill, and I just go right in for it. Like, he can't do anything, even if he runs. And he's done. So, from just the simple starve tactics and making sure that you freeze the wave where you can, poke him, and I probably should have paused this, but we hit level 6. Darius is on the screen, but he's level, I think, 3 right now, maybe 4. Yeah, he's 3. And we'll check his CS in a second, but I think he's already down like 20 CS. So I probably should have paused this earlier, but once you get a kill in lane, what is your standard shove it, right? Shove it all the way to tower. So the next wave had just come in. I just hit 6. I use my shroom to clear this, and I immediately back, because you want to back time the same time he does, right? That way you don't let him free farm, and you can continue to starve him out and press your lead. So what's happening here, okay? So these minions are frozen at tower. These minions are just coming in. It's going to freeze right here. And if this Darius was smart, he would just sit there and last hit and not shove back to me, so that it would create a problem and I'd be overextended. But since we've already seen Darius's tendency to just shove as hard as he can because he sees free minions, I know that I have time now. I'm going to go to the golems. I'm going to take these 2 golems. I'm going to wait a lane, okay? And these golems are the equivalent in gold to a full wave, and you get the same EXP as a full wave as well. So kite them, blind the big one, and you shouldn't take too much damage. You can see I took about, 110, 120 damage. And now I get back to lane in time. He shoved it all the way back to me. And what we're doing now is we're just creating the same exact scenario we just had before we killed him. So he's setting us up perfectly. You see this? All he's done is gotten 1 Q off on my wave. I've chunked him down already about 20-ish%, 23, 25%-ish of the health, and he's completely zoned again. And we're back to where we were 1 minute ago, right? So my job is to try and freeze the wave, but it's too big, so I'm gonna let it hit the tower. No big deal, because it's just gonna come freeze back. And it should freeze right back here, okay? So shroom the bush, don't let him stand in there for free. No, I'm just gonna hit the stop key and just wait. Okay. Poke him, right? So this is your game as Teemo. Okay, you're starving him out. He just hit level 5. We're level 7. He's got 21 CS. We've got 43 CS. See that? And we're up 2-1. And we haven't done anything flashy. We haven't done anything crazy. It's just really basic kind of Teemo, right? All right. So that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to show you just a couple more quick examples. We'll do a Cho'Gath game. And this is same deal. Let's try and jump ahead here. All right, so minions are coming in. We know Cho'Gaths always take, for the most part, Vorpal Spikes as their first ability. So their CC, he has got no CC right now, right? So he's essentially going to take free damage all day long. All right, the only damage I take are from minions. So always kite back. When you do damage to them, make sure you're always kiting backwards, because you're going to take aggro from the minions. So I take aggro back, allow them to get off of me real quick, and then I move back into position, right? That allows him to make the mistake of moving forward. So I can see he's a super aggressive Cho'Gath, does not care that I've been attacking him. So what am I doing? I see he's going, make sure you pay attention to your minion's health too. I see he's going for this last hit, and he makes a terrible mistake, walking all the way up forward like this. So what am I doing? I'm positioning myself, I'm clicking right and kind of up, so that as soon as he gets this minion, he's going to want to retreat. But if I'm over here, he can't really do anything or retreat. So I'm getting so much more attack. So go ahead and attack me all you want, but I'm winning this trade no matter what, right? So look at that health that I've already chunked out of him because he's mispositioning. You need to make sure that you're always doing the punishing as best you can. So now we've got the wave shoved here, right? What's your game plan? What do you do here?
If he comes up with CS, I'm going to poke him more.
Okay, what do you want to do with the wave?
I really want to keep it frozen right now.
Why freeze it here? You're extended, right? Like he's close to his tower, but you're not close to yours. What happens, remember, when we get to the edge of this bush, what do?
Ward the jungle. Wait, not jungle, the bush.
Yeah, so you could either ward the tri-bush or you could ward this, but then what's the next option with the wave? You shove it into tower, right? Because what you want to do is you shove it into tower, it makes him lose all of these CS to the tower. He can't effectively CS under tower with just Vorpal spikes. And once we get the bounce back, it'll be frozen here, and the next wave will come in, shoving it, slow pushing it back to you. So I hit level 2. I've got my blind. He hits level 2. He's got his stomp. Just dodge that as best you can. And now you can see I'm standing behind his melee or his range creeps. He's standing under tower. He's not leeching any CS off XP off of any of these creeps, and I'm just gonna force him away. Okay, and last hit, best you can until the next wave comes. Then he can come back because he's got his help from his minions. So again, 250 health. This is kill potential for me. But what I'm thinking about is I've seen him get super greedy for CS already. Maybe I can save my flash. Like if I flash ignite auto Q auto him now, he's dead. But I'm being greedy now in that I just want to like look at what he did. He just walked right up to me. If I ignite him here, and if I had my Q up, I'd kill him, but I didn't have it up, so I didn't go for the kill there because I need my Q. So I just get the free auto attack, and I'm just waiting for him to get anywhere near my flash range. If I flash to here, ignite auto Q auto, he's dead. Oops. And I went for it there, but I actually got Q'd, so I'm just thinking, okay, screw it. I'm just going to blow my flash. But you can see, like, he mispositions. He allows me to get my ignite off without even having to use my flash. I get his flash, and I get the kill, and I still got enough health where I can clear this wave. And, well, here's actually another thing to point out, by the way. He's dead, right? But he's also got TP. So what do you do in this situation? Oh, shit. Knowing that the enemy laner has TP, what would you do right now? You just killed the enemy laner.
I'm going to let their wave push into mine.
Exactly. You could just back now, buy what you need to buy, and let the wave push into you. So I take, I think, 1 or 2 more CS, and then I just back now. I got 850 gold. I can buy a few AP items. He's already back to lane. By the time I get back to lane, I can effectively freeze it back by my tower and then reset and freeze right here. Okay? And then the lane's over. It's essentially what you've won your lane at this point, right? We're only at level 3. We're 4 minutes into the game, and you've already won the lane. And this is why Teemo is, I think, one of the most, insanely OP top champions if you use him correctly. Just how early you can create advantages like this. I'm going to show you just one more, a Riven game. And same deal. Get at least one free poke off of her. It's a free trade. And I'm just going to let this one play out. So just keep in mind what we've talked about, right? What are we planning to do here? We're trying to CS safely while taking advantage of mistakes that they make, right? So she's level 1. She's got one ability. That's Broken Wings, right? It's her Q. She just used 2 of the Qs to try and CS, and her last Q knockup to hit me. How much damage did that do? That did 40 damage. You see that? All right. She has no abilities left. It's on cooldown, and she is running away from me. So I just do free damage forever. I probably could have chased her down for another 1 or 2 autos, but you could see because she got her 140 damage ability off, I got, I think, 3 or 4 autos, and she's at half health. So a mistake a lot of Teemo players will make, well, okay, I got Broken Wings, I should back up. But just take advantage of the cooldown. It's level 1. She doesn't have anything. So she makes a mistake of her 3rd Q being onto me and then having nothing else to get her away from me. It's just free damage, you know? And just keep these kind of things in mind. So same deal here. I just want to get this last 3rd creep so I can hit 2. And now I go super aggro. Now she's zoned because she knows if she tries to attack me, I'll just blind her. And she doesn't have any shield. She doesn't have a stun. She's still level 1. And you just stand behind the creeps, free farming. Okay? Now this creep wave comes. Get the poke on her as much as you can while she tries to get these creeps. And you shove this as hard as you can into their tower. She's level 2. She took shield. I'm just attacking. I'm trying to shove all this into her tower as fast as I can. Take my third point in E. You can see Flash Ignite, Auto Q Auto. You can see just the power of that combo for Teemo. Most people don't see it coming. I'm still full health, so I'm like, I'm going to do some damage. Udyr thinks he's badass. He tries to get into attack move position on me. I just blind him, and I kill him, and I take his buff too. So you can see, like, I almost died there, but the dangerous game mastery that I have gave me, I think it was like 40 health or something, which was just enough to stay alive. So again, like, Teemo's a very, very sneaky OP champ in my opinion if played correctly. I don't know. I hope that gave you kind of a good idea of how to play the early game and how to win your lane super early. Do you have any questions about those 3 videos or anything we've talked about?
I'm good.
Okay, dude. Well, that was like the very, very Teemo basics. We didn't get too in-depth into like mid and late game stuff or team fighting, but, you know, it's been an hour and a half. I don't want to take too much of your time. So my suggestion to you would be go play a bunch of ranked Teemo games on your Smurf. Try out both builds that I've told you about and pay attention to wave dynamics and just see how you do, okay? And if you run into any walls or blocks or have any issues, feel free to message me on Skype, okay? And I'm on pretty much all the time, so I'll answer any questions you might have.